Hello, my name is Nicole Mays, and today I'm going to be presenting about breast cancer and the importance of self-breast examinations. So breast cancer, it is an extremely prevalent disease. Cancer is on the rise as far as increased mortality in the United States. In fact, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. And it is currently the most common cancer for women, spread across different demographics, such as different ethnicities and cultures. So it's not defined into one subgroup. And then actually every year approximately 232,000 women get diagnosed with breast cancer, and unfortunately approximately 40,000 women die from breast cancer. And breast cancer is not only for women. Actually, men are diagnosed and die from breast cancer. In fact, approximately 400 men die every year from breast cancer. And even though it is definitely said that breast cancer, you are extremely more likely to get it when you have a genetic variable or family history, which is very true, but in fact, 85% of women that are diagnosed with breast cancer actually have no family history of it. And this is from the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation. So as far as breast tissue for where it's diagnosed the most, the outer upper quadrant of the breast is actually where we find the most cases of breast cancer, significantly actually. And what a lot of people forget is that actually the armpit area is actually still considered breast tissue as well. And there are actually 52% of cases where it overlaps between regions, or it may be unspecified due to how much of the breast tissue it actually has overcome. So actually, it's actually very common for women to find lumps or any kind of tissue in their breast that they're not used to seeing, or that is more prominent in a new way. So actually 8 out of 10 of the lumps that women find are non-cancerous. So this is meaning that they are benign, whether it is a cyst, a tumor, a clogged mammary duct, just calcifications that come up for some different reasons. Actually only about 2 out of 10 of lumps that are found are actually cancerous, which makes you think about the significance of how many lumps are being found in women's breasts across the country, because as we just stated, 232,000 cases of breast cancers are being newly diagnosed every year. So that's pretty significant, but still they say that even if it is something that you believe to be benign, still go to your OBGYN or your primary care physician and make sure you let them know of what you found. Actually, a personal experience of my own was I was 16 in high school, never had any medical issues whatsoever, and actually one day while I was in the shower, I felt this lump in my right breast that I had never felt before. And so naturally I started panicking, especially as a young hormonal teenage girl. Started panicking, immediately thought I had breast cancer, got my parents freaked out, but we were very diligent about it, and within 2 to 3 days I was in for my first gynecologist visit, talking to them, and after palpation of the breast, they actually said that they weren't exactly sure what it was going to be, so they sent us out to get ultrasounds, and in the ultrasound they did discover that it was a tumor, but because of the way that it had grown so significantly in a short amount of time, and that it was causing a slight amount of pain. They weren't sure if it was going to be malignant or benign. So malignant, of course, is meaning that it is cancerous, it's going to spread, whereas benign, it means that it's non-cancerous. So in the next week, I was given the opportunity to either get it fully removed or just to get a small piece taken in order to test. And in my mentality of it, I figured, well, if you're going in, just take it out anyways, and that way I'll feel better about it. So luckily in my case, they had taken it out and ended up being a benign tumor, but it just kind of went to show me that you never know, and it's not always black and white. In my case, they didn't know. Usually when you're talking about tumors and cancer, there are strict things that go under the list of benign, and there are strict things that go under the list of malignant. And in some cases, it doesn't fall clearly between those margins. Sometimes the line can be a little bit blurry. So it is very important to, once you find something that is unusual for your body, to make sure that you talk to somebody about it. So, as I discussed, or touched on, there are many risk factors to breast cancer. You have your preventable risk factors as well as your non-preventable. So non-preventable, this is being a female, you're more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. Above the age of 55, you become more at risk. If you have a family history, a personal history of breast cancer, early menstruation, so if you began your menstruation cycles early on, or if you experience menopause late, which is approximately after 55. And according to breastcancer.org, actually, if you have a history of benign tumors, so these are considered fibroadenomas, if you have a history of these benign tumors and consistently, then you actually could be more at risk for breast cancer later in life. So then you also have your avoidable risk factors. This is increased alcohol consumption, it's overweight, lack of exercise, smoking, pretty much a lot of your factors that are included in many negative risk factors for health overall, whether it's your heart, other types of cancers, typically those will play a role in here. But so aging, family history, if you have any kind of reproductive disorders of any kind, or difficulties with your estrogen levels, then those can actually have a pretty significant role in your risk factors for breast cancer. So and this is only a small portion. Actually, the CDC and breastcancer.org, they agree on a lot of these risk factors, but the breastcancer.org website went into a lot more detail about all kinds of different risk factors that I didn't even list all of them. So, as I said before, breast cancer is not limited. It does not only stick to women. Actually, men get it as well. They are diagnosed with it, they can die from it. It is not something to be joked about or something to be taken lightly. Actually, approximately 1% of breast cancers actually develop in men. So about 1 in 1,000 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, which, as it is not as significant as 1 in 8 for women, 1 in 1,000 is a pretty significant number. And then it's estimated that 86.4% of men will survive 5 or more years after being diagnosed with prostate cancer. Because prostate cancer is more prevalent in men, but 2,600 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S. this year alone. So overall incidence in the United States, 1.3 per 100,000, which is a very good odd considering what it is for women, but again, still significant. So, the importance of breast examinations. If you ask your OBGYN, then they will tell you that approximately once a month it is important to do a self-breast exam. And for this, you want to look and then feel while laying and sitting. So you want to look at your breasts in order to visual see. Are they what they normally look like? Are they not? Is there extra dimpling that there isn't usually? Is there an increased amount of asymmetry? Or do they look how they usually look? And then it's important to feel your breasts while lying down as well as while standing up. Because as previously shown in the image of the different breast tissues, there are a lot of different areas that it can affect. So it is actually really important, due to the way that gravity interacts with your tissue in the different positions, to be able to feel and see if there are any changes between the types of positions. So self-breast examinations are extremely important in order to help catch them earlier on, because mammograms are extremely important, but they're also not required until a much later age than a lot of you and me are. So self-breast examinations, it's the quickest way. You don't have to pay to go to the doctor, and who knows your body more than you do. So they are very important. And here are my sources. Thank you.